Sophia, coffee break innovation is dead on that sofa. You're losing the corporate soul by trading shoulder-to-shoulder presence for lazy convenience.
I'm trading 63 hours of annual traffic for actual productivity, Dad. Results matter more than a physical desk, especially for the 52% of us who've outgrown the remote paradox. Today, we're talking about the struggle for autonomy in the modern workplace. Is the office still the heart of collaboration, or is it just a high-tech anchor holding us back?
I still believe in the power of physical presence and face-to-face mentoring. Real culture is built in person, so it can't be replaced by a screen.
That's where you're wrong, Dad. In 2026, technology is our bridge to productivity, and forcing us back is a violation of our time.
It feels like a loss of the discipline that built this country. My work ethic hasn't changed since I first started my journey.
Hello there, listeners. Before we start the conversation, we should introduce ourselves properly.
Hello, I'm David. I arrived here with 2 suitcases and a student visa, and I built everything from that.
And I'm Sophia, a master's graduate in business communication. This podcast is for B2-C1 English learners who love deep talks.
I'm David, and we have real debates here. I make mistakes, and Sophia corrects me.
We'll fix Dad's grammar and find out why the 2026 RTO mandates are clashing with our reality. Spoiler alert, the commute is a nightmare that no one wants to relive.
Part 1.
Welcome back. Today we're dissecting the 2026 RTO mandates causing a national stir. Dad, you look ready to argue for the cubicle life again.
It's great to be here, though your sofa office setup still looks incredibly unprofessional. I still believe the office is the only place a company's soul truly exists.
That soul is just an outdated anchor dragging my generation down. We've already proven that genius isn't tied to a specific GPS coordinate anymore.
But you're killing the water cooler effect by staying home. My greatest breakthroughs happened while waiting for coffee, not staring at a screen.
In 2026, those random chats are actually the leading cause of productivity loss. Data shows 52% of us need the quiet, deep work environment only home provides.
You can't simulate departmental collisions through a cold Zoom link. Innovation needs the organic energy that only physical presence can provide.
Why rely on accidents for progress when we have structured digital collaboration tools? The water cooler is just a romanticized term for uninvited interruptions.
It's about the social fabric and loyalty built through real human nuance. I simply can't feel the weight of your ideas through a Slack emoji.
We use high-def sentiment analysis tools to bridge that emotional gap now. I'd trade physical nuance for 27 minutes of saved traffic any day.
Resilience is built through the friction of the daily commute and shared sacrifices. I worry you're trading long-term leadership skills for short-term comfort.
Resilience is measured by my output, not my ability to sit in a car. The remote paradox proves we are more productive when we own our time.
A dashboard shows your progress, but it never shows your growth as a person. Face-to-face mentoring builds a shared history that digital pings can't replace.
My growth comes from global networking and measurable impact, not proximity to a desk. We must value impact over presence to survive in 2026.
Without a shared physical reality, a company is just a collection of strangers. Being shoulder to shoulder is the only way to truly ignite a team's fire.
So, is the office a catalyst for genius or just a beautiful distraction? Let's dig into the hard data.
Wait, hard data? Do you honestly believe the soul of a company and its culture can be reduced to cold numbers on a spreadsheet, Sophia?
If we're truly chasing that deep connection, we need to talk about the $11,000 annual participation tax. It's hard to feel bonded to a company when my bank account is bleeding just to sit in a cubicle.
You call it a tax, but I call it an investment in the social capital that keeps a team from becoming just a group of strangers. Whether that investment pays off depends on how much you value your long-term growth over daily comfort.
It depends on the reality of my gas bill, Dad, and 46% of us would quit if that investment felt like a ripoff. Why should I spend 63 hours a year in a traffic crawl just to prove my loyalty to a physical desk?
Because those 63 hours are where the friction of over-the-shoulder learning happens, which no Zoom call can ever truly replicate. I want to explain you that being shoulder to shoulder is where professional resilience is forged and future leaders are born.
Wait, let me correct your grammar mistake first, Dad. You should say, explain to me.
Fine, explain to me.
Why resilience requires a car and a commute? Because I've proven my impact while working right here on this sofa. If your deep connection means I have to be a siloed island in a noisy office, then it's just a distraction from real work.
I'll admit the costs are high, but 83% of CEOs know that a company without a physical heartbeat will eventually lose its competitive edge. We must find a balance where your deep work doesn't lead to a total disconnection from the team's shared mission.
But Dad, that shared mission feels like a myth when I'm just staring at a car bumper for 27 minutes every morning. If the office is so vital, why do I spend my entire day there on virtual calls with people in other time zones?
It's about the accidental conversations at the coffee machine that spark the next big idea, Sophia. You're looking at the immediate costs, but I'm looking at the invisible price of losing our corporate culture.
Speaking of that culture, if we're being honest, RTO mandates in 2026 aren't about collaboration. They're a surveillance model for managers who don't trust their team's output unless they can physically see them. Why does my worth still depend on a GPS coordinate?
It's not about watching you, Sophia. It's about the cultural cohesion that snaps when everyone becomes a siloed avatar. A company is a living organism. We need to discuss about...
Wait, Dad. Just say discuss the spirit. No about is needed after discuss. It's a common mistake, but the verb is transitive.
Right? We need to discuss how a team's spirit stays alive when no one breathes the same air. How do you mentor someone on the nuances of a client's mood if you never see them react in real time?
My spirit is higher when I'm not stuck in a noisy cubicle, Dad. You worry about culture, but I'm worried about proximal bias. In 2026, the person who shows up at the office often gets rewarded regardless of their actual performance. It creates a hierarchy of presence, not talent.
That's cynical. 64% of companies citing culture for RTO aren't just making it up. They see the water cooler effect disappearing, those accidental sparks of innovation when different departments collide in a hallway. You can't schedule that.
But innovation shouldn't depend on accidental collisions, Dad. It should be an intentional part of our digital workflow. If your culture breaks without a shared break room, it wasn't that strong to begin with. We need asynchronous excellence, not a noisy open office.
Asynchronous excellence ignores the human need for shared struggle. The heartbeat of a team is found in physical celebrations and solving crises together in a war room. Slack emojis are a poor substitute for the social capital we build in person.
I build capital by delivering results and respecting others' time. Forcing a 45-minute commute for a face-to-face chat that could be an email destroys trust. It says, I value my preference over your autonomy.
I still believe being shoulder to shoulder is the only way to ignite a team's fire.
And I believe the fire burns brighter when we have the freedom to work where we are most effective. Impact is the currency, Dad, not presence.
Part 2. Dad, if we agreed that impact is the new currency, why are you still trying to measure it with a 1990s stopwatch?
It's not about a stopwatch, Sophia. It's about availability. If I message you at 2 p.m. during a client crisis and you're meditating, you aren't part of the team. You're just a freelancer renting our logo.
That's the synchronous fallacy. You believe we all must be online at the same moment to be productive. But if I deliver the perfect solution at 2 a.m. while you're sleeping, why does it matter where I was at 2 p.m.?
Because business happens in real time. You can't run a company on a time delay. To fix this chaos, I suggest to synchronize our core hours so that...
Hold on, Dad. Suggest synchronizing.
What? I'm making a point about professional timing here.
And I'm making a point about professional grammar. You don't suggest to do something, you suggest doing it. The verb suggest is followed by a gerund, so you suggest synchronizing our schedules.
Fine. I suggest synchronizing, because without shared time, there is no shared urgency. You're trading camaraderie for convenience.
It's not convenience, it's cognitive optimization. The 9-to-5 model was built for factories, not digital creativity. If I have to interrupt my flow every 15 minutes just to prove I'm available, my productivity crashes.
You might have killed the industrial clock, but I worry you've replaced it with something worse. If 2 a.m. is just as valid as 2 p.m., tell me, when do you actually sign off?
What do you mean?
If work can happen anytime, it ends up happening all the time. You say you want autonomy, but to me, it looks like you've just traded a structured workday for a life where the work never truly ends.
Never truly ends. That phrase is actually terrifying when you say it out loud in your own living room. I thought I was gaining freedom, but I've basically turned my sanctuary into a 24-hour workstation.
Exactly. You didn't tear down the office walls, Sophia. You just invited the office to live in your home. And because I can't see you at your desk anymore, my management brain instinctually treats that green status light like a digital leash.
But that's not true autonomy. That's just remote micromanagement. In 2026, we've realized that being always on is actually a sign of a failing culture. That's why we're pushing for the right to disconnect. It's not just a perk, it's a survival skill.
A survival skill? It sounds more like a way to avoid responsibility. If the team is in a war room dealing with a midnight server crash, are you going to cite your right to disconnect while the ship sinks? I look forward to hear your excuse then.
Wait, Dad, you mean you look forward to hearing my excuse?
What, again?
Yes, again. The phrase is look forward to, where to is a preposition, not part of an infinitive, so it must be followed by a gerund. You look forward to hearing my solution, not to hear.
Fine. I look forward to hearing how you balance autonomy with emergency, because from where I sit, your digital freedom has just turned into a 24-hour shift of checking notifications.
It only feels like a 24-hour shift because you haven't learned to trust the output over the green dot. The digital leash exists because managers are afraid of the silence. But silence is where the real work, the deep work, actually happens.
Silence is also where isolation grows, Sophia. When you disconnect your leash, you're also disconnecting from the collective heartbeat of the company. You might be free, but you're becoming a silo.
I'd rather be a productive silo than a burnt-out puppet on a digital string. But you're right about one thing, Dad. This constant pings are exhausting. It makes me wonder if we're actually gaining freedom or just moving the walls of our office into our bedrooms.
Exactly. And that isolation I mentioned, it's not just about missing meetings, Sophia. It's about the soul of the work itself slowly drifting away.
The soul isn't drifting away, Dad. It's just migrating. You think the soul of a company is trapped in a physical building, but to me, it lives in the purpose of the work we do. And that word you keep using, isolation, it doesn't mean the same thing to my generation.
Isolation is isolation. Whether it's 1980 or 2026, being alone is being alone.
You call it isolation, Dad, but I call it selective socialization. I'm not lonely. I'm just not forced into small talk I don't care about. I have my global network, my digital communities. I'm more connected than you ever were in your gray cubicle.
Connected to data, maybe, but not to people. You're missing the tribal knowledge, the stuff that isn't in the manual or the Slack thread. You can't learn the smell of a bad deal or the vibe of a nervous client through a fiber optic cable. Without that shared physical reality, you're just a genius in a vacuum.
The soul isn't drifting away, Dad. It's just migrating. You think the soul of a company is trapped in a physical building, but to me, it lives in the purpose of the work we do. And that word you keep using, isolation, it doesn't mean the same thing to my generation.
Isolation is isolation, whether it's 1980 or 2026. Being alone is being alone. Growth requires friction, Sophia. You're avoiding the healthy friction of working with people who disagree with you face to face. I'm trying to describe about the weight of leadership that you only feel when you're in the same room with your team.
Dad, wait. You just said describe about.
Here we go again. What is it this time?
You don't describe about something. Describe is a transitive verb that takes a direct object. You just describe the weight of leadership. No about needed.
Fine. I'll describe the weight of leadership more carefully then. It's a burden you can't fully share through a screen. When you're all alone in your sovereignty, who mentors you when you fail? Who sees the burnout in your eyes before you even realize it's there?
My mirror, I guess. You're right that autonomy is a heavy crown. It takes a level of self-discipline that your generation never had to develop because the office did it for you. We have to be our own bosses, our own cheerleaders, and our own HR departments.
And that's my point. True autonomy isn't just about death of the clock or right to disconnect. It's about the resilience to stand alone without losing your humanity.
So the question isn't where do we work or when do we work, it's how do we stay human while we work? Maybe it's time we look at a third way, something that isn't a 1950s office or a 2026 isolated sofa. Part 3.
You know, Sophia, when you mentioned being your own HR department just now, it sounded less like freedom and more like a sentence. 83% of CEOs are pushing for RTO by 2027, not because they're villains, but because they see the soul migration you talked about. They see people becoming islands.
Islands with high-speed internet, Dad. Those CEOs are just scared of the remote paradox. They see us saving $11,000 a year and think we're stealing from the company's social capital. But they don't see the focus we gain.
Focus is great, but what about serendipity? You can't schedule a breakthrough on a calendar. In the office, you bump into a colleague and a 5-minute chat saves a week of work. On Zoom, you're just a box and a grid. It's transactional, not transformational.
Water cooler magic again? Dad, that's a myth from the Mad Men era. In 2026, those accidental meetings are usually just interruptions that ruin our flow. We're losing 63 hours a year just commuting to have those accidental chats. That's 8 days of our lives.
But those 8 days are where the mentoring happens. You said you're more connected than I was in my gray cubicle. But you're connected to information, not wisdom. You can't absorb the vibe of a crisis through fiber optics. To really grow, we need face-to-face communications.
Dad, wait! Communication, no S.
Here we go.
You're talking about the act of sharing ideas, right? That's uncountable. You don't need to pluralize it.
Your sovereignty is just a fancy word for being professionally alone. You're trading the friction that makes you better for a comfort that makes you stagnant. You're just living in a comfortable vacuum, Sophia.
It's not comfort, it's survival. If I'm forced back into that friction every day, I don't become better. I just become a burnt-out puppet on a shorter string.
A puppet? No, Sophia. You're just a genius hiding in a comfortable vacuum, trading your future for a sofa.
You call it a vacuum, Dad, but I call it my financial survival room. Do you have any idea what it actually costs me to step into your office every morning?
Growth isn't something you can calculate on a spreadsheet, Sophia. You're turning a serious conversation into a math problem.
In 2026, it is a math problem. If I follow those 83% of CEOs back to the office, I lose exactly $11,000 a year. That is gas, insurance, car maintenance, and city lunches. To you, those are entry fees. To me, that is the difference between paying off my loans or drowning in debt.
But you are missing the social capital. You are trading your future as a leader for $11,000. It is short-sighted.
Let's talk about time then. Americans are wasting 63 hours a year just sitting in traffic. That is nearly 8 full workdays spent staring at the bumper of a truck. You want me to give up 8 days of my life every year just to bump into people at a water cooler? That isn't a career move. It's a hostage situation.
It is not about the truck, Sophia. It is about the energy of the room. When the team is together, there is a collective heartbeat. When you are home, you are just a service provider, a freelancer renting our logo. I want to see you lead. I look forward to see you take charge of a room, not just a Zoom call.
To seeing, Dad.
What?
You look forward to seeing. To is a preposition here, so it needs the gerund. If you're going to lecture me about leadership, at least use the right grammar.
Fine. I look forward to seeing you realize that your autonomy is making you invisible. You think you are saving money, but you are losing your seat at the table. If I can't see the spark in your ideas because you are hiding behind a green status dot, how can I mentor you? If you need to see my eyes to know I'm working, you're not mentoring. You're monitoring. I am more productive, more focused, and $11,000 richer. Why should I sacrifice my efficiency for your nostalgia? Because a company without a shared space is not a company. It is just a list of tasks. I am afraid that by the time you realize that, you will be the most optimized person and the most alone.
The silence in this room is getting louder. I saved $11,000, but this sovereignty feels like a heavy crown.
If the office is a factory of distractions, your home is a fortress of solitude. You are safe from noise, but also from sparks of growth.
The silence in this room is getting louder. I saved $11,000, but this sovereignty feels like a heavy crown.
That is the remote paradox. You optimized your life for efficiency, but you filtered out the collective heartbeat.
I am connected to the world, yet I sit alone in my pajamas. Are we gaining freedom or just losing our grip on reality?
Humans are not meant to be productive silos. We need the friction of other people to keep our edges sharp.
But 63 hours of traffic is no answer. 8 days a year in gridlock is a 1990 solution to a 2026 problem.
If the office is just for emails, it should die. We must stop arguing about where we work and start talking about why we meet.
An intentional destination for connection, not tasks. Tasks are for the vacuum, but collaboration needs a shared space.
I want to discuss about a new model. We call it the intentional core, focusing on presence.
Discuss the model, Dad. You do not discuss about something, you just discuss the thing.
Fine, I will discuss the model. We only go in on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for mentoring.
No headphones and no deep work allowed? The rest of the week I stay in my vacuum and save my 63 hours.
Exactly. It treats you as an adult, but recognizes we are still social animals who need a tribe.
This protects my sovereignty without making me a hostage to a commute. I get my life back. You get your culture.
Just promise me one thing. On your intentional days, you will leave the house and look people in the eye.
I promise, as long as you never bring a stopwatch to a brainstorming session ever again. Deal?
Deal. Since you saved all that money, you are buying me a very expensive dinner.
Nice try, Dad. My survival room does not cover your appetite.
Grammar focus.
Okay, Dad. The radical candor debate is over, but your linguistic bugs need fixing. It's time for the drill session. Today's target? Your gerund failure.
Ah, yes. My battle with the ing endings. I am ready. Give me the download.
Here is the core issue. Most people see the word to and immediately think it's a to infinitive, meaning it has to be followed by a base verb, like, I want to sleep.
Right. That's what I learned in school. To plus verb. It's automatic.
But in phrases like object to, devoted to, or look forward to, that to is not an infinitive. It's a preposition. It's a directional arrow pointing at a target. You are devoted to a concept. You object to an idea.
So because it's a preposition, it needs a noun to point at.
Exactly. Prepositions must take nouns. So if your target happens to be an action, like cooperate or be, you have to hack that verb and turn it into a noun. How do we do that? We add -ing. That creates the gerund. It turns the action into a concept.
Let me make sure I process this. I can't be devoted to be right because be is a verb. I have to be devoted to the concept of being right.
Spot on. Your system is updating. Now, let's lock it in. Repeat. I object to cooperating.
I object to cooperating.
We are devoted to being helpful.
We are devoted to being helpful.
I confess to making a mistake.
I confess to making a mistake.
I look forward to arguing again.
I look forward to arguing again.
Flawless execution, Dad. The 2 plus gerund patch is officially installed.
I confess to feeling much better about my English.
And that's our grammar focus for today.
Final reflection.
We covered a lot of ground today, Dad. The debate between the office and the sofa isn't just about where we sit. It is about who we become while we work.
I agree. I realize that forcing you into a 63-hour commute just for a vibe is a relic of the past.
And I realized that $11,000 in savings cannot buy back the human connection I lose in total isolation. True autonomy means having the discipline to be alone without losing our shared purpose.
Intentionality is the bridge. We should not meet to do tasks. We should meet to ignite that collective heartbeat again.
In 2026, the office must earn our presence, and we must earn our freedom through impact. It is time to stop being efficient ghosts and start being intentional neighbors.
Well said, Sophia. I will see you on Tuesday, with a coffee in my hand and no stopwatch in my pocket.
Deal. And I will bring the results. But you are still paying for that dinner tonight.
Wrap up.
That is a wrap for episode 17. We have journeyed from the death of the clock to the birth of intentionality.
It was a tough debate, but I think we found the bridge between your $11,000 and my corporate soul.
Don't forget to audit your own linguistic firewall. Ted still owes me for that discuss about glitch we found in the 3rd segment.
I will pay my debts, starting with that expensive dinner tonight. I hope our listeners are ready to rethink their own 63 hours of commute.
Whether you are in a fortress of solitude or a noisy war room, remember that impact matters more than your GPS coordinate.
But do not forget the friction that makes us human. We are not just service providers. We are a tribe that needs to breathe the same air sometimes.